In a hectic back-to-school shuffle and on the heels of historic national political headlines, it's important not to lose sight of some of the biggest local issues we've seen in decades. Missouri voters, fed up with the lack of progress from their represented politicians in one way or another, clear another hurdle in an effort to make their voices heard. Earlier this month, the Secretary of State's office certified a number of ballot measures brought on by voter petitions, including a push to enshrine abortion rights in the Missouri Constitution. It's called Amendment 3. This move would reverse a ban in place ever since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Organizers with Missourians for Constitutional Freedom, the coalition behind this ballot measure, say the focus now is on getting out the vote.
We should be clear up front that Amendment 3 is fundamentally about one thing: voting yes to end Missouri's total abortion ban. It's about giving Missourians the ability to make their own personal private healthcare decisions without interference from politicians.
Thank you.
Efforts from several groups for and against this amendment are picking up steam, so you can expect a lot of money and campaigning thrown at this issue leading up to Election Day. Speaking of money, voters will decide on sports betting in Missouri after lawmakers for years failed to pass a bill in the General Assembly. If Amendment 2 passes, adults 21 and older would have to physically be in the state of Missouri to place a bet online or on their phones, much like what we're seeing in Kansas. There would be a 10% tax on wagers. Missouri sports teams and fans have pushed for a while for sports betting to be legalized. And, Kansas generated $7 million in revenue in its first year of allowing it there. There are a few other measures to consider. Proposition A would boost Missouri's minimum wage to $13.75 an hour in January and $15 an hour in 2026. It would also require employers to provide paid sick leave. Amendment 6 would add a $3 fee to every court case in the state to fund the sheriff's retirement system. And Amendment 7 would add a line in the state constitution saying only U.S. citizens can vote. That's already the law, so it's important to look beyond that. This measure would also ban ranked choice voting, an election method used in a couple of other states. There's a lot to get to, so let's discuss with our roundtable of journalists, KMBC9 political reporter Michael Mahoney and Jason Hancock, editor-in-chief of the Missouri Independent. All right, let's start with the abortion amendment. Jason, we know when it comes to ballot issues, this is going to take the majority of the headlines this election season, and there's a fight already over the fair ballot language attached to this thing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there was a lawsuit filed by proponents of the measure against Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft over the fair ballot language that he wrote. This is the language that would appear at polling places next to sample ballots. It had some language in it that was very similar to what he wrote for the ballot summary last year that a court has already thrown out. So he's being sued again. Most people don't see the fair ballot language. They don't really pay attention to this stuff, but it is on the Secretary of State's website. It does show up at polling places. I'm certain it would be used by the anti-abortion side to campaign against it. So we're headed back to court on this once again. Jay Ashcroft being sued by the proponent, saying he's trying to undermine this proposal with unfair language.
Jason's right. Folks don't really look at this stuff, but it is important from the standpoint that when people go and look at voter guides and or on the Secretary of State's website, they will look at what the description is on a particular piece of initiative like this. So people don't see it, but then they do. And the other thing is, this is going to be the marquee issue on the Missouri ballot this November. This could be a $20 million race.
Sure, and using Kansas as a test case, right? We saw a huge turnout in an off year for this abortion amendment, and overwhelmingly it passed. Should we expect the same in Missouri? What would that do up and down the ticket, do you think, Mahoney?
Well, the Democrats think it will galvanize voters to come out and vote on this thing. Interestingly, up in Chicago last week at a women's governors forum, the governor of Kansas, Laura Kelly, who is now the head of the Democratic Governors Association, was at a forum, and they were talking about this, and she said, when the Republicans tried an anti-abortion measure in Kansas, they, in her words, poked the bear. And of course, we know that that anti-abortion restriction was defeated handily in Kansas. And Kelly says she thinks that what happened in Kansas has prompted a lot of other states, including Missouri now, that have an abortion restriction consideration on the ballot.
All right, we'll watch that closely. Jason, we know sports betting's on the ballot. Lawmakers couldn't make this law happen. It's taking a huge push from betting outlets and sports teams themselves. Try to push this thing over the top.
Yeah, especially DraftKings, they're putting a lot of money into this. Obviously, they're going to make a lot of money on the back end if this were to pass. But you're right. Lawmakers have said they wanted to accomplish this for years, have never gotten it across the finish line. This is why the initiative petition process exists. When the legislature is not being responsive, citizens can put questions before on the ballot themselves. So you had the sports franchises, you had these sort of betting app companies putting a lot of money and a lot of manpower behind this. One would presume they're going to continue to spend this money. They're not going to take anything for granted. And there's not an opposition campaign that's formed that's going to have any money. So it stands a really good chance, presumably, once it gets on the ballot to win voter approval this fall.
We did mention a few other amendments. I want to fit this in. Mahoney, I'd love to get your take on Amendment 7, which kind of masks a ban on ranked choice voting under the guise of, okay, we're going to make it illegal for non-citizens to vote. But as we said, that's already the law. So what's going on here?
That's a good description. It is a mask on the ranked choice voting, which is basically, it's called in some places jungle voting, in the sense that in a primary, the top two folks that come out of that primary are the ones that go forward. It's not necessarily a Democrat versus a Republican versus a Libertarian. It's the top two that come out on this thing. So you could have two Democrats running at the top. You could have two Republicans running at the top. And this thing has had some support in the state of Missouri. They tried to get it on the ballot a couple of years ago. We'll see where it's at on this one. That's probably the more controversial element of this voting question, because, as you noted earlier, it's already against the law for a non-citizen to vote. This proposal would simply elevate it and put it in the Constitution.
Important to read the entire ballot question when you go to the polls in November. We'll be talking a lot about it. Michael Mahoney, Jason Hancock, thank you. Get the facts along with context and perspective throughout this election season with Heart of the Matter and KMBC 9 News. Look for updates on air and online at KMBC.com.